Our December meeting is on the 26th. I think so.
18th. We moved, it comes the week
We moved it
before.
before. Okay. All right, good one then. Moving item number 2, the minutes of the October 2023 meeting.
Motion approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Carried. Next item, treasurer's report.
Good morning. Brian Mahoney was going to join us remotely because he had some respiratory issues that he didn't want to share with us. So I don't know if he's here, but if he is, welcome. On the financial report, on the budget versus actual on the P&L, which is the third page of your report. We are down $13,000 on the administrative revenue, primarily because of a project related to the City of Hudson IDA. We had hoped that the K&R project, which is the Schuyler Court and Providence Hall Section 8 housing projects, would close this year, giving us another $10,000, which would pretty much wipe out the deficit from the budget. But it looks like that's going to roll into January. We've been working closely with them because it's 150 units of Section 8 housing that if this group doesn't buy it and invest new money in it, it will go market rate. And the residents of in those apartments would be in a real difficult spot. I think that we also are $3,000 lower on Office of Community Renewal grants, but we will be making that up because those are the grants that we do where the county is the grant recipient from the state, and then they enter into a sub-recipient agreement with us, and we make it available to businesses to buy equipment. And we have an ability to take a $15,000 fee on each of those grants. And what we do is we take that over time, and we will, in December, we'll pick up the balance of that. So, I'm not terribly concerned about that. On the funds from Columbia County, we're on budget, obviously, with the $460,000 base contract. The Columbia County forward income, they're current, but if you recall, they paid that money in advance, and we used it for the purpose of putting the down payment on 11 Warren Street. And so we have to do some end of the year accounting cleanup because when that closes, and I do understand they have a solution or a settlement with the Mental Health Association on where to relocate the clubhouse that the youth group was using in that building that was a potential concern prior to closing, that we will get $175,000 back at the closing, and that will make sure that it's booked against the fee that it was intended to. But the way it was done, the county was able to advance that money to us, so we had the funds to put down on that loan. Our grant income is down by $6,000. Our interest income is up by almost $3,000. You'll recall that we began the process of getting all of our accounts either at 2% flat or the CD we purchased at 4% for the loan fund. Membership, again, it is down, but I spoke with Dave this morning. Riley Werner, who's out sick today, has been working with us, and Jessica and I, when Jessica was still here, to get the membership letters ready and out. We'll have them printed by the end of the week. Dave and I will sign them, and we will begin a more rigorous membership solicitation, which basically was on hold during COVID. And we felt that during COVID, we were getting funds from the county, and also businesses were being asked to help support social service agencies and other groups that were providing direct charitable support to people who were truly in need. Our SBA technical assistance is up, and so our total income, when you make all of these adjustments, is only down by $10,000. And so, you know, a budget helps you drive the car, and not all the buckets are always going to be exactly where you thought they would be at the beginning of the year, or actually the fourth quarter of the previous year. On the expense side, you know, we are down on consulting income, primarily because before Jessica came, we were using some outside pickup baseball people to do some of the grant work and some of the other work that we were not able to have done in-house. Our total employee expense is down $6,800. Again, we'll pick up October, November, and December. We will address the search that we're doing to replace Jessica. It's very difficult to find candidates, but we'll address that in a few minutes. Our grant expense is under budget, and also our micro business expense is under budget by $5,000. Although Martha in November has issued a number of work orders for consulting clients. We're back through our office expenses. As you'll recall, in previous years, we were really off on office expenses in terms of our budgeting. So far this year, we're only $1,500 over budget on 76,000. We're really looking at those expenses because, you know, when you really look at, you know, where the biggest expense is the monthly cost of the computer consultant, which is about $1,600 a month. And they're the group that manages our server and the group that we contact when they have a call out. We've been with that group for a long time. And next year, we're going to have to replace the server either by going to the cloud or upgrading. We put that off this year because of they gave us an estimate, but the amount of the estimate requires that we do a RFP. We did do the RFP. Steve helped us with the RFP on the copier last year. And basically, if a copier is more of a commodity, I guess, than a server setup. But I think it was over a 3-year basis, it was going to be like $800 difference. And one was charging more on the lease and the other was charging more on the copies. So we stayed with the company that we had been with. Our new initiatives is also under budget. And part of that is because of we had anticipated spending more on housing and also on broadband. I think what we're seeing with housing is we are in a position where we have to help jumpstart some projects. The project out at the Conic Hills School District that we're looking at to get people to a point where they were willing to take the next step. You know, we've engaged Crawford Associates for $2,500 to do an initial site plan. So I think we're going to have to take, you know, if there's a developer coming in who's a for-profit operation, we're not going to be subsidizing their initial work, but to get some of these projects, and Chris has a list of 10 or 12 projects that we're currently looking at housing. So when you see that we were, you know, under budget on the consulting and new initiatives, it does get us to cover the overage on accounting, which we had because we had not budgeted for the single audit that was required because of the extent of federal funding that we're receiving. So we were $8,000 over budget on professional fees. But it brings us to a point where our expenses are $72,000 under budget, giving us a net income of $62,000. One thing we're going to want to look at as we get to December, and we do have Pat Lyden and I have a meeting with UHY this week to begin the pre-audit planning. But one of the things we're going to want to look at for the December meeting is to the extent that we do have a positive net income, how much of that we might want to expense by adding money to the loan reserve fund. Because we've had great experience with a low loss rate, but with the portfolio ever increasing and the economy being a little more uncertain than perhaps in the past, putting $25,000, $30,000 of the paper profit.
Would that go just into our own fund or could it go in SBA as well?
Well, the SBA is, there are two accounts, but it's basically, you don't
Same
move any
money.
money. It's just it's a balance sheet adjustment so that when you write a loan off in the future, you write it off against that account and it doesn't have an impact on the.
I guess what I'm getting at is the next time we take money down from the SBA, if we had this in there?
No, well, that's different because I always confuse that because this is just the account that gets hit if we write off an SBA loan or we write off a CEDC loan. The actual dollars that we have to take and put in the SBA account for the next drawdown, that's coming out of the fact that we have never moved any funds over the last 10 years or 8 years from for interest on either interest and principal on the CEDC loan fund or the interest on the SBA loan fund has stayed in those accounts.
Mhm.
So what we've been doing is, we made $25,000 on interest on an account that a tranche of money that the SBA,
Right.
we've left that and we use that to fund the 15% going forward.
Okay.
We looked at that and at the December meeting, we'll have a more detailed report. But, we've, over those 8 years, we've left either added to the CEDC loan fund or left in the SBA reserve fund interest and principal equaling almost $550,000. We have talked in the past about having to take some of those funds and use them for operations, but I think with the money we've received from the county as a result of ARPA and the COVID recovery, I think that's something we'd be looking at once those funds are depleted, which would be the middle of 25. The balance sheet it does show a jump from total assets of $5 million up from 4.36. Some of that is the fact that there's over $250,000 in new loans. There's $250,000 in that results from the right to use adjustment that accountants made us undertake. There was a new accounting rule at the end of last year that if you have leases, you have to present value the leases and list them as assets. There's a corresponding liability, but it did inflate people's balance sheets. We are going to have a discussion this week when we meet with UHY about our accounts receivable and our deferred income. Our total accounts receivable on the back of the second page of this report shows that we have $392,000 of receivables. 92 is from the SBA, so that would bring us down to 300. 175 is from the county. So if you do want to look at where we are in terms of where we book deferred income versus accounts receivable, because I think some of the deferred income needs to be credited to the accounts receivable. So that's the two areas where I do want some help from UHY on the balance sheet. But, you know, to be in the first 2 months of the year, you say the 2 months doesn't make a budget, 11 months does, and I think, you know, we're in pretty good shape.
Thank you, Mike. Any discussion on the treasurer's report? Can I get a motion to accept it?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Carried. Committees, audit and finance did not meet. Executive committee did not meet, but we're going to, right?
Yeah.
Governance and nominating committee did meet. I'll turn it over to Sarah, who's the chair.
Okay, we had a interesting meeting, cleared up a few, some confusion as to when different things happen. And as the board of directors, they all change in the end of April. And the officers change in January. So we worked on the slate of officers, and we have a wonderful slate to go forward. They will be starting in 2024. The chair is James Calvin, vice chair Rick Rector, treasurer Tara Gay, and secretary Michael Malinsky. They've all accepted these positions and volunteered for them too.
They're aware of the pay.
Yeah, I heard it.
You're gonna get 100% raise.
I know David's been our chair for a long time now, and he's certainly done a wonderful job, and I think Jim is going to.
We had a couple of Lyndon Johnsons, I shall not seek nor shall I accept. But we want to thank those who have.
Yeah, and so that's that. We do need to take a vote on that. And I will call for that now.
I'll make a motion. Balances are voted in.
Second. All in favor?
Aye. Thank you, sir.
Congratulations. And then we have a new board candidate, Rachel Puckett, who comes well recommended by Dave. And we've interviewed her, and I think she'd be an amazing addition to the board.
I agree.
She comes from a family of volunteers. And you've seen her resume, and do you have any questions?
Does she live in Columbia County?
No, she lives in Green County.
Green County, but that's not a problem. We have other.
No, I'm just curious. This is the first thing I've ever
She's
seen.
from Columbia County. She's from Hillsdale. And her mom lives over here still. Her mom runs, her mom is Tina Sharp.
Oh.
And I think the key to it is that from our broadband perspective, with Dave ultimately rolling off in April, to have a strong connection with our two local broadband providers. Congressman Molinaro's office called me yesterday to get some input on the announcement that was made on Sunday that Consolidated Communication is going to be purchased by an offshore private equity group. And, you know, I think that, you know, we're kind of glad that there's a federal process they have to go through to get approval as an offshore company to buy a communications company. But so that we can get some of the work done that's already in progress before a new set of management team people come in to perhaps make it easier to do that or make it harder, and you never know.
I'll make a motion to approve. Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. That's it
So
for.
we have another meeting in January. We have some
We
interviews
have
to do.
two meetings, January and February,
Okay.
and we have, gonna have a lot of board seats becoming available.
And I did get a hold of Rich Nesbitt. I actually listened to my voicemail. He didn't pick up. And I told him I'd be in contact with him for the January interviews.
Yeah.
Okay?
And we have 2 other potential people, but I think we're gonna need 5 or 6. So those 2 months will be busy.
And I think what we should do at the January meeting is look at a profile of those of you who will be remaining. And in terms of, your background, your current professional relationships, your geographic location, so that, as you are looking for new board members, we're looking at, we serve business, government, education, and the not-for-profit sectors, and to get a cross-section of business owners, not-for-profit executives. Our government executive is appointed by the chair of the board of supervisors in ex officio capacity, and to be sure that we're not all from one town, or we're not all on one line of business or one of those segments of our industry clusters.
That's our diversity.
And I think we've been very fortunate to, just by osmosis, to have business leadership, education leadership, not-for-profit members. But I think ensuring that we have people who sign the front of a check in addition to those of us who sign the back of our checks is important, because especially small business owners, so that we do have a connectivity to the other 20 or other 2,000 businesses in the county, so that they can see the value that we bring. And even Martha and I discussed whether or not there were any 3, 5, 7-year graduates of our loan program or our technical assistance training courses that would represent someone who the board might consider. And then in that context, have them as do testimonials or as an advocate for what they've achieved and how CEDC supported them in those efforts.
Did we have a little geographic map at some point?
We did have a column.
Yeah.
Not everyone's from Germantown, no, or Livingston, but it is good, and it's a big commitment if you're in New Lebanon to get down there.
Transportation to getting here.
So
Okay, thank you.
It's a big one. Okay, thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Next item is the loan committee.
it's a big agenda. Martha and
It
Steve.
is a big agenda. Do you want?
Yes, we'll start out with the portfolio dashboard that we'll vote on after Martha presents.
Okay, if you'll take a look at your portfolio dashboard, I'm having to report that loan client A sent us 2 checks this week, and they have brought their account current, including their late.
Wow.
Loan client B, we're struggling to get a payment from them, and we expect one this week. Loan client C has requested a deferment until next summer, and in all likelihood, we will grant that deferment. We're waiting to receive updated financials from them. They're also working with their bank and with Pursuit Lending. Hopefully, all 3 of us as creditors will be able to grant them a deferment until they start generating revenue in the summer. It's a seasonal business. Are there any questions?
Can I get a motion to
Motion
approve?
approved.
Second.
All those in favor? Anyone opposed? So carried.
Good morning, everybody. On behalf of Arctic May Farmstead Goat Cheese LLC, agribusiness located in Stuyvesant, they requested from us a $50,000 loan that was split between 2 loan funds. Both loans would have a 72-month note at 7.75% interest. Total monthly payment of $870.57. Purpose of the loan: debt refinance and equipment purchases. Our collateral will be a lien on the business assets and personal guarantee of the principal. That's Arctic May Farmstead Goat Cheese LLC in Stuyvesant.
Anyone have any questions? Concerns? Motion to approve? Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Bringing us to Art Park Homes LLC, located in Chatham. Hospitality business, they too have come to us for a $50,000 loan that we've again divided between the two loan funds. One note on this, the CEDC loan would be at 60 months, whereas the SBA at 72 months. Both loans at 7.75%. Total monthly payment of $911.75. Purpose of the loan, material purchase and working capital. Collateral being a lien on the business assets and a UCC on the manufactured home for which these proceeds are being utilized. As well as, of course, the personal guarantee of the principals. That's Art Park Homes, LLC in Chatham.
Any questions, concerns?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So carried. Hugh Hospitality.
Thank you. The Pew Hospitality is located in Greenport. The loan request is for $50,000. Split between the two loan funds, both have a 72-month term. The interest rate again is 7.75. The purpose is working capital. The collateral will be a lien on business assets, title to the vehicle, and the personal guarantee of the principal and spouse.
Any questions on the Pew Hospitality Group?
Yes, I may have missed it, which would not be a first, but did they not get a P&L on their existing business?
They did provide a P&L. And it was, they don't have a professional bookkeeper and they only use their tax accountant to do their taxes. So we had to do a lot of work with the client to put it into a format that was usable for us, and that's why we didn't share it with the board. It's often more difficult working with an existing client than with a startup. They don't often have a professional bookkeeper and their books are a little bit messy.
And I guess in some cases, part of the process that we go through in providing the loan is to get them to a point where they get the technical assistance to clean that up and move that forward. And in some cases, it's actually a quasi moral suasion requirement, if not an actual condition of making the loan and working with them. And they do, our clients are required to give us financial statements on an annual basis. And so, you know, we are able to pick up when people are behind on their bookkeeping.
So we were able to determine what they're doing this year. You know, they have their cost of goods in a different category. They just have things categorized incorrectly.
Yeah, it's just hard for me to make a determination based on history, but I know they have an existing business and they're borrowing against that existing business.
Right.
And I had no idea what that existing business was doing, so I said, yeah.
So some
Right, and we
information.
had 2 years of tax returns as well.
But it is a point that we should be addressing in terms of, I think there are times, Martha, where you've been able to make a condition of the loan informally. It's not part of the underwriting or the approval by the board, that they have to accept and follow through on some technical assistance as a prerequisite to moving forward with us. And
Their accountant cleans up their books at the end of the year. It's not atypical for a
Yeah.
small business.
but let's take a closer look at that and see.
I've got all the faith in the world in Martha and her organization. This is one business.
Well, I think it's process because Martha and Steve and I have had the conversation that as we add more loans, and we're now at $4 million of total portfolio, you know, some of the character lending component of this is important, but we need to be sure that, you know, we have the checks and balances that you're raising by these questions.
Martha, I just have one question. Do you, going back to what you said, when you're doing a loan such as this, and I'm just using this as an example, you require them to do once a year, like your tax returns and your statements and stuff like that. Is it feasible to, because of just what you said, we're getting larger, we're getting more money on the street, we're expanding our liability. is it feasible to possibly add that, like a 6 month, every 6 months? The person that has a loan must produce to the loan committee a loss and profit statement or something from their tax preparer to just establish that things are going well.
Or not.
And yes, and or same scenario. I've watched a lot of times when you're fighting a couple of people or a couple of accounts that you're diligently trying to get them to get back up and everybody can have a difficulty. Everybody can have a bump in the road. Everybody can have a hill to climb. Most generally, luckily with trust, they get over that hill. Is there an avenue going forward that you can put into place that if a company or a loan gets behind 3 months, then you require every quarter for a statement? Something to put on their back that I got to get this accomplished or I'm going to be responsible to get this information to them.
We can certainly try. It's
Not trying to be difficult, but
yeah.
just to give them a little bit more incentive to keep a little bit on
the portfolio dashboard, loan
Yeah.
client A, we have tried to enforce a quarterly meeting with a technical assistance provider, and they did meet with that individual once. But again, they don't have a bookkeeper. It was hard for our TA provider to determine really what their financials look like. But we can certainly try.
Yeah, I'm just looking for some avenue for you guys to also have in your back pocket to say, if we're having difficulties with this, then we may have to go to the next avenue, which the next avenue would be a quarterly report or a 6 month report or whatever, to give them a little more. If they don't want to go to that point, then they've got to clean up where we're at.
And we did require that on a loan recently made to a business, and they have had their first quarterly meeting with the technical assistants, and that one went very well in terms of being able to share
Right.
Numbers and numbers that we felt confident in.
Just a thought.
And I know that, even in, I was gonna say, you have those early default loans, you wanna get in and, figure out what's going on and see how you can help them before they get so far behind that they can't.
Right.
It's a good suggestion.
Martha, just curious, how many people that take out loans use like QuickBooks or equivalents accounting software in there? Because it doesn't sound like these folks do, because once you get up and running on that, it's very easy to generate P&Ls and balance sheets.
Do
you have an idea?
If you're using it, they use QuickBooks, but I don't think they're using it to its fullest.
Right.
And I'm dealing with a client right now that just changed bookkeepers, and I asked him to produce a P&L, and he didn't even know where to go to click on reports and generate the P&L. So it really varies. And some people, of course, are using their point of sale equipment, Square or what have you,
Right.
and don't use QuickBooks.
Right.
But they're able to generate reports.
To Michael's point, is there anything in the loan document that specifies that they must supply financials?
Oh, well, we require the yearly tax returns.
And if they don't, then it's an event of default.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're always struggling to get tax returns, and I found in the last.
Bank too, but if you're in default, your interest rate can go up by 4%. That gets people's attention.
Yeah, the majority, I would say probably 50% now. For an extension, they get the automatic 6 months.
Sure.
But we're collecting those tax returns in November.
Yeah, we get it in
Yeah.
October.
I mean, I can envision as this grows that, initially, we might be in a position where we actually contract with one of our technical assistance providers to be the sheriff to a point where until it gets to a point where we have sufficient need for someone to do that you hire them in-house. And so, if you're 3 months late, it's not Martha or Steve having to chase them down. We have a Brian Twag or one of our consultants go in and not go in to be remedial, but to go in and be a positive force in helping them understand what they need to do to grow their own business. But, and I think that, to bring someone on just to do that without really figuring out how much capacity you need for it, would not be cost effective for us. But to allocate in the budget for technical assistance, the ongoing technical assistance, not just the technical assistance to do the business plan to justify getting the loan. And we do provide tremendous support to people after they close their loan on a number of accounts.
Are you saying to provide technical assistance to actually help them get their books in order, or?
We'll go in and be
That's kind of
the,
a lot.
well, we wouldn't do the work for them.
Yeah.
But we could go in and be the catalyst. We'd pay someone to go in and say, look, you have to do this, or your loan rate's going up, right? I mean, because,
Bookkeepers are in very short supply.
Yeah.
As you may know.
Yeah.
So it can be tricky, but to Rick's point, we had a client come to us, a fairly sizable business that didn't use any accounting software. They described themselves as old school, and we told them that we would require them to use QuickBooks or something equivalent, and we never heard from them then.
and there's other reasons why people,
Yes.
Don't want.
yes.
Exactly. That's why we want to see it.
That's what.
Well, I mean, if someone's just showing like their Square Reader reports, that's only their profits, and you know what I mean? Who knows what they put in, you know? Yeah,
Well,
it's confusing.
So I think we should look at this at the loan committee and come back to you, because, you know, it's incredibly, when Steve and Martha were putting together the data for year end, so we can start to think about the annual report and seeing the number of loans that we've done over the time period, the low default rate, and the, you know, size of the aggregate available to lend and money on the street already. You know, I do think we continually have to look at process and procedures to make sure that someone doesn't slip through the cracks, not because we're worried that they're going to then not pay us, but that our goal here is broader than just loaning the money.
I mean, ultimately, we want these people to succeed, and I can't imagine anything successful without having some kind of like proper bookkeeping to.
And if there's a reason they don't want to do that, perhaps we don't want to do business with them.
So in order to address the issue that's before us with regard to this loan application, one option conceivably is for the board to determine that the information that was presented to the board was incomplete, table it, if that's feasible from the standpoint of the viewpoint of the staff, table it until the December meeting, allowing time for that information to be circulated to the board. Again, if staff is comfortable sharing that information with the board.
And what is loan for their new business, right? Because we're talking about, you have who prepares the business plan for their new business?
They work with King Howard.
Okay, so we've, you know, and they have a personal credit rating, what are the security, in addition to their guarantee?
We're going to take title to the vehicle, but,
Yeah, so I think in this case, the security is adequate to be able to, I would recommend that you move forward. But I do think that we should still ask for that information on their other business that's a part of the overall security. But I think, you know, they may be in a situation on a vehicle where if they don't move forward, they could lose.
They were okay with us taking title?
yes.
Yeah.
The credit score was.
And it's a new vehicle?
It's a used vehicle.
Yeah. But, you know, I just think that, you know, they could lose the vehicle because of, you know, this concern. And I would recommend that we move forward, but that we, Martha and I and Steve, work together to present to the loan committee, not only the information we have on this in retrospect, but also look at how we might address these points going forward so they're not issues in the future.
Comfortable with that?
I'll make a motion that we approve this loan to Depew.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So carried. Okay, next is Viking Draft Company, and then we have an extra after L's, that's not.
Oh, that's right.
After.
Viking Draft Company is based in New Lebanon. The business installs and maintains draft beer systems, and they also have a heat pump cleaning service. They requested $50,000 to use for equipment purchases and working capital. Both loans will have a 72-month term, total monthly payment of $870. In this instance, we'll have a lien on business assets, and we will also have a first mortgage on the commercial property that they're purchasing. Are there any questions?
Make a motion, we approve this one.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So carried. And then after L's, LLC.
Thank you. This is a loan that was approved by the board back in July. We made the loan contingent on the business receiving their liquor license. And they came to us yesterday and requested that one of the loans, at least, close in December. And the second loan, we would wait until they do receive their liquor license. They want to use the proceeds to purchase the bathroom fixtures, lighting fixtures, the equipment they need for food prep and under the bar. They would rather do this than put the purchases on a credit card at 24.9% or whatever the rate may be. We also tweaked the terms, but the major change is that we would have an SBA loan closing in December, and then the CEDC loan would not close until they do receive their liquor license. Steve and I took a site visit yesterday. The space is under construction. Things are moving forward. They hope to open February 1st. And this will just help them, as I say, purchase the equipment and fixtures they need to install before they can get their license.
If they don't get a license, what happens?
If they don't get a license, they don't open and the business isn't viable. They've already been approved conditionally. And what they will receive is a temporary license. That's how the liquor authority works now. You pay for a temporary license until they can get to the permanent license. And it can be months. My understanding is it can be months and months. They're way behind.
So when we approved the loan initially, the interest rate was 6%.
Yes. And the reason, so what we did is, as we might have mentioned in a previous meeting, we're trying to draw down SBA money and preserve our CEDC loan fund money until our CD matures on April 1st. So we switched the amount coming from each loan fund. We shortened the term on the CEDC loan to 9 years from 10 years, which also benefits us. We gave them 6 months extra on the SBA loan. We're trying to keep their monthly payment comparable to what was approved, and therefore we had to lower the interest rate to 5%.
Thank you.
And none of this has been shared with the client. Their existing commitment letter expires on the last day of November. We're going to let it expire and present new terms to them on December 1st.
And where's the location for this?
Right down on Columbia Street.
Okay.
Yeah.
They can buy ice cubes from the other guy that we had lunch.
We can have meetings over there.
Late breakfast. Any questions or concerns after L's? Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So carried.
I must say, this whole little quadrant up here is getting all kinds of new businesses.
Yeah.
And Bodega, friends of mine are having breakfast there now. I haven't been yet, but there's Basiloff's, Bill Deb's, Bodega, Cafe Mutton, which we gave a loan to, and now this place, so it's good, right? Food.
Thank you very much. The last committee meeting would be workforce. I don't see Ruth on, but Carly, Dr. Drummond?
There was no meeting, we're meeting until January.
Okay, thank you. Next item is the president and CEO report. Mike.
Thank you. We've had incredible successes over the last several weeks since we met last. The largest being that we received $5.8 million in funding from the Governor's Regional Economic Development Council initiative Columbia County submitted 15 applications for those various loans or grants. 12 of those 15 were awarded. Greene County only had 3 awards. Not to be competitive, but I do think to get in the newspaper, I did give the quote that the proof is in the pudding that Columbia County plays above its weight, and I think that was kind of the impression that we've got from the regional Empire State Development staff. 80% of our projects are funded. The 3 that weren't funded was an application for the 620 Union Street Hotel project, which is back. I'm meeting again with the developer. He's putting an equity package together that installed during COVID. The other was a zero energy project at Hawthorne Valley Schools. There were only 1 project in each county of zero energy, and that was awarded here to CAS, to Ben Fain for the project at the waterfront. And the other project that wasn't selected was the Crandall Theater, but last year they had received $350,000, and I think that the state was looking to see what private sector funding they were awarded. All in, the 5.8 million will support $33 million in investment in the county. The other great news was the groundbreaking in Hudson of the first Galvin project at Depot Square or Depot District, and it's a 75-unit project. We also were excited that we were able to work through with K&R, the State Office of Community Renewal and Housing, as well as the HUD, to continue to keep the Section 8 project alive. It requires an allocation from the New York State Empire State Development tax credit pool. They had allocated it. We were able to secure that, even though it's a very competitive year. And at the same time, they're not going to need it until next year. So we were able to tell the state they can release it to someone else, and there's lots of access to those funds in January. We also had a conversation with Carl Florio in his role as chair of the Hudson River Bank and Trust Foundation. And the idea was to have CEDC play a facilitator role by inviting various foundations that serve the county to a lunch to discuss where there might be alignment and where there might be an opportunity to do a transformational project together, recognizing that it's not an attempt to take grants from smaller organizations or existing organizations in a way that would put them at jeopardy and in light of having a large, spectacular project. But we invited the Bank of Greene County Foundation, Berkshire Taconic, Columbia Green Community College, Columbia Memorial Health, Ellsworth Kelly, Francis Greenberger Foundation, the Fund for Columbia County, Galvin Foundation, the J.M. Kaplan Foundation, the Spark of Hudson, and the T. Backer Fund. The T. Backer Fund is Judy Grunberg's family. The J.M. Kaplan Fund is Joan Davidson's family. There are at least 6 other foundations in the county with $2 to $3 million of assets, but we felt that we were looking for organizations over 5 million to see if there was an interest here. And then, when we looked at the 990s, many of those other organizations were doing $1,500 to $2,500 grants. It's really important, I think, that in these conversations, we make it clear how important the $1,500 to $25,000 are to these small not-for-profits. But I do think, if you could put together $100, $150, $200,000 out of the bulk of these foundations and do a child care initiative or do some other effort that would not only get people working together, but ensure that there were funds that might enable us to get additional grant funding for other community needs. And I believe the Hudson River Bank and Trust Foundation now has about $14 million. So, yeah, and I do think that the biggest concern is that none of their existing beneficiaries feel any sense that this is an attempt to reallocate what they are doing now. It's to do something on top of what they're doing now. We also, I believe, the last meeting we knew we were getting the $375,000 micro enterprise grant the county received, and that's a program where businesses up to 5 employees, including the owner, can get up to $25,000 grant, and then we would package that in conjunction with the loan program. The program that Jessica worked on, and we're in the process of getting the final documents signed by the county so we can move forward with that. We also have got the Board of Supervisors approved, Economic Development Committee approved 2 solar contracts that we had been working on broadband. We're getting down to the line where the state is posted their broadband plan for public comment. By the end of December, they need to submit that to the FCC. The FCC will then review and approve it and send it back to the state. The state will then go out for RFPs to complete the work. The state has acknowledged now that they anticipate most of the funding will go to providers, not to municipalities or to not-for-profit. So we're setting up broadband networks, particularly upstate. Then the feds get to review the RFPs before they award the money, and then they award the money. And fortunately, that means we're looking at fourth quarter of 2024, first quarter of 2025 for those funds to be released. We are continuing to work with Consolidated and the town, along with the towns of New Lebanon and Canaan on the 190 plus addresses that the USDA is working on funding through the funds that then Representative Delgado provided. I did have a very extensive call on Wednesday with Congressman Molinaro's staff on broadband. And again, as I said yesterday, and seeking our guidance on the consolidated merger. My hope is that with 4 providers in the county, if you each do 5 a week for 40 weeks a year, we'll whittle down that list to where the only ones that are left are the $35,000 hookup connections. But I think we certainly have had a great run over a longer time period than any of us had hoped in addressing broadband in the county. And I know from my conversations with Chairman Morrell that he and the Board of Supervisors appreciate the role that CEDC has played here. On the housing front, I'll ask Chris to give a brief comment in a moment. On the childcare front, we have had another conversation with the Taconic School District Group, both on housing and childcare. We also had Chris Nardone and Amanda Kirsch from, how does she pronounce her name? Karsh from the college speak at the Board of Supervisors Economic Development Committee meeting and to bring the supervisors up to speed on the work that the college and the Workforce New York office are doing. Chris is is in the process of transitioning to head up the Columbia Green Workforce Investment Board, replacing Katie Drake, who's been there in a contract capacity for a long time. And Amanda, I guess, is going to joint share some of Chris's responsibilities at the Workforce New York office and the college. So it's great because you'll have the balance and transition of the team that's in place, but each with more responsibility and engagement. So we're excited about that. Finally, the Board of Supervisors asked us to help coordinate the marketing for the climate change conference that's coming up on Saturday from 1 to 3 o'clock at the college. We've spent about $1,500 in advertising. You may have seen ads in the Register Star and the Columbia paper and on the Columbia 360 website. We also sent out more e-blasts and hope anyone wants to get in their inbox, but we are up to about 35 people. We have 6 speakers. They are intended to be balanced. There's a representative from the Capital District Community Planning, CDRPC, a gentleman from the Empire Center who's on the far side of one issue, and some Earth Justice representatives who are on the far side of other issues. It is an event that the Board of Supervisors is sponsoring. Any of you that are interested or available, we'll give you $5 to come and fill seats. No. But I think it's a topic that I don't know we're going to change anyone's mind. I think the people who will come will already have a position on it one way or the other. We have gotten a few on both sides of the aisle responses to our marketing about it's not necessary to have this. The issue is significant enough to just address it. On the other side, follow the science. So I'm going to go with an open mind, and like anything, I think the balance is somewhere in the middle. But the supervisors are appreciative of that, and Brenda Adams and Holly Tanner are kind of the lead, along with Don Meltz. On housing, Chris and I had a great meeting with Darren Scott. He came down for 2 hours last Wednesday just to meet with us. We specifically didn't include any of our partners or stakeholders because we find when you have those meetings, it's all about what their particular issue is, and they distract the overall conversation. But Chris, if you could give a brief update on that, and without getting into too much detail on specific projects, or flavor of the projects that you're working on.
Can I share potential unit count? I feel like that's fair. So as Mike alluded to earlier, we've got about 10 to 12 projects that people have been talking to us about. The Housing Forum really brought a lot of people to the office instead of us going out and finding what people are doing out in the county. So right now we're looking at about 300 units, give or take, throughout the county. And I think only about 15 to 20% of those are in Hudson. So this is mostly county projects that we're talking about. It's a variety of private contractors and, just bigger firms, just individual homeowners. So it's quite a mix, but Darren Scott is the Upstate East Director for Homes and Community Renewal. His ambit is pretty big. He goes all the way up to Syracuse, all the way down to Westchester and up to Canada. So he's got most of the state. He came down and talked to us for 2 hours, basically to set up a strategy for helping these projects get off the ground next year. What can HCR do? What other funding opportunities are out there? And what really we came away from that conversation with, aside from all those projects, Darren said, pick 1 or 2 grants in the spring that the county and or an affiliated nonprofit partner can apply for, because there's really no HCR money in the county, and there hasn't been for a long time. There just hasn't been anyone to apply for it. So that's something that the Housing Task Force is going to work on over the next couple of months, taking a look at what grants will be available in the spring, which ones make the most sense for us to apply for. I think it's probably going to be home repair or mobile home replacement, most likely, but we'll see. The other thing we're working on, Pattern for Progress, is updating community profiles for us. I think these were 2018 or 2019. You might have seen these. They were just one sheet. It just had a few facts about your community. So they're updating and expanding those. So we'll now have post-pandemic post the beginning of the pandemic numbers. And we'll also have 2022 ACS data, because they'll be getting to it late enough. So we'll have very, very current data, and these will be about 5 or 6 pages long. So if you've seen these before, these will have a lot more information in them than they did previously. And they're doing those, 1, to update them, but 2, to get us ready to apply for those grants. So having that information will make grant applications much easier. We did get back, I think, as many responses as we're going to get back, I'll say, naturally from the employer survey. We got about 50. Statistical relevance dictates that we get about 20 more. So I've got to reach out just specifically to 20 individual businesses. Some of the bigger ones we didn't get. Columbia Memorial Health didn't respond, which their Director of Human Resources is on the task force. So I'll be kicking her butt later this afternoon. But once we get up to about 70 or 75 respondents, we'll be able to say, you know, with some kind of certainty, this is what employers in the county are facing. I think that's all I got. Oh, I guess quick land bank update. We're just waiting for the last approval process on that. The community land trust, which isn't something that we're doing internally, but it's something that the housing task force is supporting. They should be getting their certificate of incorporation approved by the end of this week. So we'll have 2 new countywide nonprofits at the beginning of 2024 that are specifically focused on housing.
It's been really very, very exciting. I think I had a call from Chairman Morrell yesterday asking for some background assistance with a potential short-term rental law that the county is looking to pass. They've spoken with Senator Hinchy on the fact that it doesn't appear that her bill is going to get passed because the New York City Progressive Caucus is opposed to it. So we're partnering, the county will be partnering with her and the Assembly member Barrett to be able to get legislation approved for the county to impose a short-term rental, where the enforcement of it will be at the town level. Because you know, if you had, there's so many different zoning codes and building codes and other applicable regulatory inspection requirements at the town level that, you know, you need a staff of multiple people at the county level to do it. And I think they feel that under the home rule model, it's best to do it that way. I was telling the chairman about these 10 to 12 projects, and he said, well, it's the visibility that that the task force has generated over the last year that has resulted in this. At the same time, we had a conversation about looking into each of the projects through a prism of buckets, so that when a project comes to us, is it a median household income 80 to 120% product that we're looking to advance and support, so that we're not busy working on projects that are going to support upper scale housing or the low income housing that's already being addressed through other channels. You know, the supervisor's goal was to address housing for people who were making $80,000 to $125,000 a year. And, you know, we could be very busy with 12 projects, but if only 2 of those are hitting that market, you know, we did discuss the fact that the activity is great, but we need to be always looking across the dashboard that we have for the loan program similarly, and, you know, where are these projects, where do they hit the road?
Just for posterity, I think it was 80 to 125% of the median income, not 80 to 125,000.
Yeah.
Just for posterity, for the video.
Well, but yeah, but I
It's
think
about the same.
it's about the same,
Yeah.
right? If the median income is now $81,000, it's up from it's 70 maybe.
73.
73. You know, it was basically, you know, an attempt. Now, on the flip side, talking to people about construction costs of, you know, $200, $300 a square foot, we have an affordability chart that if you were making median income, you could only afford, based on taxes, insurance, heating, utilities, $175,000 house in Arnett. So, you know, we just don't want to get distracted from the goal because it seems unachievable.
Sure.
But he was very, very pleased with the work that Chris has been doing and that CEDC has been doing to raise awareness and to keep the conversation and dialogue going.
How much conversation is taking place regarding senior housing in the county?
There's a bit. So this was
Some project you can talk about because it's public knowledge.
Oh, that one was approved. So there was a 55 plus project that was approved in, I believe now technically it's the village of Felicia, right? This Kinderhook Felicia border. But I've been talking to the continuum of care quite a bit. I'm actually hoping to bring somebody into the advisory board if we can expand the advisory board or add someone else, because we don't have anyone that represents senior care interests or just senior housing in general on the task force. So I really want to bring that perspective in for next year.
Very good. Yeah, I mean, it's, our county is aging. And
And
there's very little conversation about it.
The interesting thing with the 55+ project in Felicia is that it's, 60+ units?
57, I think he ended up with.
And 12 are townhouses, and the others, because the community didn't want a 60-unit apartment house, are individual cottages, or
Single unit home.
single-unit homes, ranches.
Pretty good size, 14.
But they're gonna be rental units, and
Where
they're,
is that, on 9H?
It's on 9. Right.
and the fascinating part is the developer, Paul Cagno, was able to get the village to, and the town to let, the town allowed the village to annex property to complete this project so that they can get water and sewer from the village, which is really, it's all but incredible to get something like that done in this day and age. So, and then you may recall that Amador was looking at a upscale senior project at 9H and 66 on land that was owned by Bill First, and he did close with them on that project. And I don't know if that's still the market that they're going to be looking to address, but I had extensive conversations on their behalf with St. Peter's Healthcare, who runs the Beverwick and the similar project in Queensbury.
Was there a number put on that?
No, not yet, but
I thought
again,
they went to market rate already.
yeah, that's more than market rate.
Yeah.
That's, rides to the Hudson Hall for orchestra and shopping in Albany. Yeah, it's what we all dream for, but may never achieve. But there's a market for that too, but
Oh,
we don't
absolutely.
need to spend time on it because the market will drive those. We're looking at, and I think what Chris points out, that the real area that we need to also focus on is how to help people improve, upgrade, and not necessarily upgrade, but maintain and restore some of the deferred maintenance on the homes they already own. But it's an exciting time, and most developers look at 10 projects to do one, so we got to look at 100 projects to do 10. So.
How are our friends doing in Greenport? Is that dead?
I'm not sure. I haven't heard more about that, but that's the 150 unit project behind the Napa Auto Supply Store, where there was some disagreement between the buyer and the seller over whether the contract had expired or not. But I think we have probably a list of 25 projects that are not housing. One of the projects that was approved is the Art Omai project, received $2 million for their pavilion project in Chatham across from PS 21. And it's intended to be 16 pavilions built up into the hillside, into the natural landscape, where artists can come and people can come and visit. We had a similar group, not exactly, but a group calling that they want to come and do a similar facility for jazz musicians and education. So those are not-for-profit projects. Clock Estates is received $275,000 additional for their project, which they emailed me yesterday. Could I update the list of people to invite to the groundbreaking that we had given them 2 years ago? So they're looking to move forward with opening their restaurant in the spring. We're in the process of getting them one last extension of their timeline for creating jobs with the state. We have continual calls to meet with people about new projects.
Not going on.
Which leads to the final comment is, we kind of struck out with our marketing on Indeed, Monster, the Register Star, the Columbia Paper, the Capital District Business Review. We received 2 viable applications for Jessica's job, but they were really for the project manager's job because they were people who were only 3 to 5 years out of school. we emailed them, asking them to contact us to set up a Zoom interview, and neither of them responded. So hopefully they got jobs somewhere else, or they used us to get their current employer to give them a raise. But so we're going to start over. And you know, we do have one prospect, a gentleman who moved here from Virginia, but or Maryland, but he moved to Great Barrington. I wish he had, you know, moved to Hillsdale, but you know, we're going to do a Zoom interview with him. But you know, we can't take someone just to take someone, and at the same time, we need someone. So if you know of someone, and that's why we did advertise the 2 jobs, so that if there was someone who wanted to break into the field, who had, you know, good solid foundational skills, we could mentor them into a role that you know would provide us with the talent and assistance we need.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe that concludes our business. Is anyone from the public on? Seeing no one?
Steve, there's something on here about the micro enterprise grant county contract.
Yes.
Oh,
Needs approval.
We have to enter into the subcontract with the county. The board of supervisors will approve that at their December 9th meeting. So we could get that approved.
okay. Now, okay. So I need a motion to enter into contract with the county.
So moved. Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion's carried.
In deference to process, I pulled the approval of the county CEDC 2024 contract because I discovered when I got back from being away that the county hadn't approved their budget. I thought it might be presumptuous to approve a contract for next year where they haven't yet allocated the funding. So the chairman agreed.
Is their budget approved?
Yeah, no, on the 9th. They're going to have a public hearing, and
Is that typical, they wait till the?
I think they're meeting late, cycle late, but
It is usually middle December?
Yeah, I think so.
but yeah, most, I know, I think they're, you know, but they're giving, they included the full 460,000 continual contract, and the other ARPA money is on a multi-year contract, so.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I just think since it's been a year since I last brought it up, but I think the CEDC's social media presence should be ramped up. At least anytime we do an event, it's awesome that just take 15 minutes to create an event online, so that way people can share it and stuff. And that's just time, you know, not like spending money on the Register Star and other places where it's a completely different demographic. You know, my generation, we really don't read newspapers as
I
much.
thought she had done this on the climate thing on social media, but I'll check with her.
I got more emails about the Survey Monkey thing, registration, than I didn't see anything on
And the chamber was going to do it as well, but that's a good point. And why don't maybe you and I and Riley meet and get a better schedule.
I copy pasted it, my own thing, and put it on the Hudson.
Good idea, though.
But other than that.
Admittedly, I don't understand it, so if we could have you join us with Riley and focus
I'd
on
be
that.
happy to.
This is the new secretary's job. That's right.
Get the word out.
We're gonna work on getting you a new phone, that dial one you have in your desk.
I actually have one at home. And it works.
Jim.
My grandchildren love it.
Yeah, I think the job description, the secretary has to change too. I was thinking about that, so that's for future board to think
We
about.
did get a lot of social media advance from the chamber's small Saturday, or small business Saturday. I mean, I keep getting people liking CEDC's connection to that.
Jim?
I just wanted, on behalf of Mike and Tara and Rick and myself, thank the board for giving us the opportunity to serve as your leadership team starting in 2024. It's an honor, it's a privilege. It will require that you continue to participate and support and provide input at a very high level, as you all have been doing, and as I'm sure you will continue to do. And you're here to Dave Finger and Sarah Sterling, the outgoing officers. They've done a tremendous job. And the good news is that we'll continue to have them with us as board members until the annual meeting in late April, early May.
Can they stay past the April meeting?
There are plenty of.
Sure.
We're at term limits.
They can come back, they can come back later.
6 years is the,
2-3 year terms.
By the way, Sarah is our ethics officer, and when she goes off the board, will be unethical.
well, the secretary, actually, the secretary
Oh,
is
is that
the
right?
ethics officer.
Oh, okay.
So we
We will be ethical.
didn't tie it. to
More
a
training.
person. It's tied to the job title.
Thank you.
Well, we'll certainly have a acknowledgement at the annual meeting and recognizing all of the board members who will be rolling off, but particularly Dave and Sarah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all very, very much. Motion adjourned.
As ethics officer, I never had to do anything, so that speaks well for you.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.